how's it going, everybody? Nick DiVirgilio here. Welcome back to Groovy Thursdays. We're at groove number 30, and we're at a groove that's been suggested by a lot of you out there, and I really appreciate it. This one's called Dave's Gone Skiing from the band Toto, and the original drummer, none other than Simon Phillips. Let's do it. Yes, Simon Phillips. What an amazing drummer, and he makes everything sound so good for sure, but even odd time signatures he makes sound groovy and natural and just cool, right? Now this song, I have to admit, I had never heard before until it got suggested by you fine people out there in the internet world. So I really appreciate it because it turned me on to what a cool song this is, and a groove that was hard to learn and something I had to really study here for a while. Now I'm not claiming that this is the end all, the perfect version of this groove, because what I do in Groovy Thursdays here is I listen to the songs intently and I try to figure them out with my ears. I don't go and look for transcriptions. I use this as an educational tool for myself as well as you out there, because I'm just like you. I want to figure out what's going on in grooves like this with other great players, and they might not all be in the room with me here, or there might not be good stuff or proper stuff or educational stuff on a particular song out there in the world. So I try to figure it out for myself. I think it's pretty close. It feels good to play. I studied it quite a bit, and I got my favorite program, Anytune Pro here, which helped me out tremendously. And we're going to use that program here in the figuring out of this groove here today. So with all that said, let's do it. The first thing to say about this groove is it's a 9/8. A great time signature to play in. Sometimes a really hard time signature to play in, but it's a 9/8 around 225 BPM at 8th notes. Okay, so it's fast. It's a fast clip. And because it's a 9/8, whenever the next bar comes around, it feels like an anticipation, not the downbeat. And that's what makes odd time signatures so cool. This phrase is 4 bars long, and it's all based around this guitar riff. I have no idea how they recorded the song, but it seems to me, from hearing the song, listening to the riff, that I imagine maybe Steve Lukather came in and said one day, guys, check out this riff, and then they all started writing and jamming along with it, and this is what they came up with. Our friend Mr. Phillips, to keep it interesting, doesn't play the downbeat on every bar. He plays the downbeat on the first bar, he plays the downbeat on the second bar, but on the third bar, it's the anticipation of the downbeat, and then the downbeat on the fourth bar. So you got a lot of, it feels like you're tripping over yourself a little bit, but it's all very groovy and very intentional. There's also a lot of repeating things happening in each bar, and I didn't realize this until I got into the weeds and really started listening and slowing it down, which I'll show you in just a second. But once you get those similar things happening, those repeating things happening, it does make it a little bit easier to play. One last thing I want to say before we dive into the transcription here is that, listen, there's only one Simon Phillips. Only he's going to make it sound like this particular groove. All we can do as players is learn from it, take the education from it, try to incorporate it into our own playing, and just do the best we can. And that's what I tried to do here. All right, now let's get into it. The first thing I want to do is count out the 9/8 for you. I'm going to open up my program, Anytune Pro. If any of you have not heard of this program, I'll leave a link to it in the description. It's by far the best slow down program there is out there. You can loop little sections. They make it for laptop. They also make it for your phone. I think they make it for Android. They definitely make it for iPhones. It's just so easy to use. You put in an MP3 or a wave or whatever you want. It shows you the whole waveform. You can listen to the whole song, or you can pay, like I said, you take little tiny snippets and loop them around, slow it down quite a bit. It leaves the pitch of the song, and it's just so easy to use. I highly recommend this program, Anytune Pro. With that said, all right, I'm going to keep it at 100%, which is full speed, and I have these first 4 bars looped around. Let's count out the 9/8 first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. See, and did you feel that third bar? He doesn't play the downbeat. He plays the anticipation of the downbeat. So you got to just keep the 9 flowing and you'll get it. Let's do this one more time. I slowed the speed down to 70%, and let's count out the 9/8 together, and maybe you'll feel it even a little bit better at this tempo. Check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. See, there's repeating things happening. He hits the snare on beat 3 and beat 9 of every bar except the very last bar. He's doing a little fill between the tom and the snare, and that's on the upbeats. But if you feel the 3 and 9 in every bar, maybe that'll help it ground it for you. The other repeating things that are happening are the stabs and the hi-hat, happening on 4 and 6 and of the first 3 bars. But on the last bar, it's 5 and 7 and of the stabs. So, along with the snare drum happening on beat 3 and 9 of the first 3 bars, and those hi-hat stabs happening on 4 and 6 and of those first 3 bars, there's a lot of the same stuff going on. So for me, it really made it a lot easier to feel and kind of get underneath my hands once I realized those things were repeating every time. Let's check out that anticipated crash at the end of bar 2 and how you get into bar 3. Once you hit that crash on 9 and of bar 2, the anticipation, the last 8th note of bar 2, that snare drum has to come in on beat 3 of bar 3. But what makes it easier to feel that snare drum on beat 3 is the kick drum right before it on 2 and. And that's something we drummers do all the time, from the pros down to the amateurs and the beginners, playing a kick drum right before a snare drum backbeat. Think of a regular 4/4 basic rock beat, like something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, kick, kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, kick, kick, snare. That kick right before the snare, it's a grounding sort of thing, but it's also propelling the groove forward, having that kick drum right before a backbeat. That's what's also going on here in this 9/8 groove. You have the anticipated crash at the end of bar 2 on the last 8th note, but then you have a kick drum right before the snare drum on beat 3. So you have that propulsion forward, and it also gets you into bar 3. It makes you feel it easier as well. If that makes sense, I hope it does. Now, the reason the hi-hat stabs are different in bar 4 than they are in bars 1, 2, and 3 is because you're following the guitar riff. That's what's happening there, so the rhythm has to go along with that riff, and that just happens to be where those stabs land. Now let's talk about all the in-between stuff, the ghost notes. I may have added more than what's there. I'm not really sure because, listen, when you're listening to the song, you got your headphones on, you're listening through it to speakers, you're listening to a fully produced, mastered song with effects, compression, and EQ and all that kind of stuff. So it colors the sound a little bit. You may not hear everything that's there. Some of it might be buried by what the guitar and the bass is doing, all of that kind of stuff. I definitely hear lots of ghost notes going on in his left hand. That's a typical Simon Phillips kind of thing. And I tried to write it all out here and listen as closely as I could. And that's what I got going on here. The ghost notes are basically in between everything. You're filling in the space. You're the percussionist in yourself. That's what ghost notes do, right? Ghost notes make you sound, as one drummer, make you sound like a couple different musicians. You're the percussionist and the drummer at the same time. That's what ghost notes are that's why they're so cool, right? Simon is an expert at adding the in-between stuff. It's really beautiful, and that's what's going on here. I also think adding the ghost notes in between these things, in beat 5 and 7, at the end of beat 9, all throughout, just keeps the flow going. It's a natural sort of feel that we drummers do. The hands are going to keep moving. To play a real syncopated groove like this without anything in between, I think would make it feel kind of odd and a little bit stiff. You want to have that stuff flowing through, and you want to have that sort of slinky feel in between everything going on. That's what makes the stabs, the backbeat snare drums, and all those things really stand out, is all the percolating stuff that's underneath. Another thing I did to figure out this groove was to transcribe the rhythm of the guitar riff, and this helped quite a bit. I brought that to the drum set, and I just played the snare drum with my hi-hat, keeping the 8th note time. And what that did was make me really feel all the in-between notes, the upbeats. There's a lot of upbeats going on throughout this groove. So you really want to feel where those are and not let those upbeats, trip up your time a little bit. So it took some practice, but it was really cool, and it helped me figure out the overall rhythm of this groove. last thing I'll suggest with this groove or any other hard groove is to vocalize the rhythm. You hear me do it all the time in Groovy Thursdays here, but keep some time with your foot or clap along and sing the rhythm, and boy, it'll help you feel those odd times, those anticipations, the upbeats so much easier. I'm going to do one more thing here before we end this video. I transcribed out the guitar part like I told you. It's written out here, and I'm going to clap and vocalize that rhythm. And there's a couple of cool things to point out here in this rhythm. We'll go through that in a second, but right now, I'm going to clap the pulse and vocalize this rhythm. You ready? I'm going to count 4 to start this, not 9. So follow along. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sounds funny, but check it out. You can really tell what's going on with the rhythm by the rests in between the notes and also where the anticipations are. So you can see in the first bar, the anticipations on 4 and 6 and. That's what's happening on the kick drum. That's the stabs with the kick drum and the hi-hat in the first bar. You can see the anticipations on 4 and 6 and in the second bar, but you'll also notice that there's 2 4-note runs in that second bar. The first one starting on 1 and, so it's 1 and, 2 and 3. And then the second 4-note run starts on 6 and. So 6 and, 7 and 8. That was really cool to realize once I got into this. Then in bar 3, there's a lot of open space except for these anticipations. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 and, 5, 6 and, 7, 8, 9 and. You can see all the rest right in front of you. It's really clear and makes it a lot easier to feel and see. Then in bar 4, the anticipations are on 5 and 7 and, but it's clearly written here because we're just looking at the guitar rhythm. So you have 1 and 2 and, then you have 2 rests on beat 3 and 4, then you have 5 and, rest on 6 and 7 and then rests on 8 and 9. Now, we talked through all of that. Hopefully it didn't sound too convoluted to you, but transcribing out the rhythm of the guitar riff really helped me hear all the rhythm inside the drum part. Hopefully that'll help you as well. And there you go, a killer groove from the drummer Simon Phillips. The song is called Dave's Gone Skiing from the band Toto. The record is called Tambu. And thank you again to everybody who suggested this groove. It was a killer education for me, and I hope a fun education for you as well. I also want to say if you like what's going on here at Groovy Thursdays, that you like this video, share it with all your friends, subscribe to the channel, keep bringing those great suggestions like this one and comments on all the grooves, and we'll see you here next week for groove number 31. Have a great week, everybody. Cheers.